Final Fantasy XIV 7.2 reinvigorated a lot of people's interest with Dawntrail and the state of the game, and alongside that comes theory crafting. A little while ago I asked you guys to provide me your wildest, craziest theories for the future of Final Fantasy XIV, and in today's video we're going to react to them. But here's where you come in. In the comments down below, I want you to also leave your craziest, wildest theory for Final Fantasy XIV, and in a future video, I'll not only react to them, we're gonna do a special little challenge. I'm going to force myself to defend your theory, no matter how wild, wacky, or just plain wrong it is. So hit me with your best shot. Yeah? Limit break all over me. Wait a minute, hold on. Okay, moving on from that mental nightmare. Hello everyone, I am Jmulls, and let's get right on into this, shall we? Okay, this first theory is one of the more popular ones going around right now, and I want to talk about it right here. We have at FN Inquisitor who says, important thing to know, the Ascian Pashtarot, who is still unaccounted for, was known as the Preserver. He 100% has something to do with preservation. We're going to need to hide this guy before McDonald's gets their hands on him. Now, if I remember correctly, also, code for me reading the wiki, I guess it's the fandom page, he is specifically the preserver of discipline and order. And straight up, if there is an Ascian in the background, or who had actively had his tendrils in the 9th and all up in that business earlier on, before the whole lightning cataclysm that world kinda had, it's probably Pashtarot. Just too many things line up and make a lot of sense. Preservation, Pashtarot being known as the preserver of discipline and order, while Alexandria was known, thank you FF9, also Otis and Zelania, with a order of knights. Knights being traditionally associated with discipline and order. Also, the whole mechanization analog going on with the Endless lends itself to this way of thinking. So, in all likelihood, if there was an Ascian behind the scenes pulling the strings at some point in time for the 9th, it's almost certainly Pashtarot, which is how I think it's pronounced. I still kind of hold to the idea that I don't think he's the main bad guy going on right now. I don't think he's pulling Calyx's strings or anything like that. I'm not even of the opinion, because I know there's another fan theory going around, that Calyx is actually an Ascian in disguise. I don't buy that myself. I think what happened was that Pashtarot, at some point in time in the past, tried to manipulate the events of the 9th to usher in a rejoining, but because of Calyx and preservation, ultimately failed or was delayed significantly. That's the direction that I think the story is going to go. I think Calyx and preservation and Pashtarot are against each other. And I think we'll probably come to learn either in 7.3 or at some point in the future, we will discover that one of the key motivating factors behind preservation, behind the utilization of the Endless, wasn't just to save the people from the lightning storm, it was to prevent a rejoining. Because as we know, because of the 13th, you have to tip the balance to one element ever so precisely, because if you go too far in one direction, you wind up with the 13th instead of a proper rejoining. That to me feels like that's the direction they would go. I don't see them really utilizing Ascians as big central antagonists anytime soon, because we just had Shadowbringers and Endwalker, but I could see them using Ascians in the background as motivating factors for new villains and new antagonists like Calyx to still keep it grounded and rooted in stories that we ultimately do care about and have cared about, while still ushering in something new. That's a direction I think they would be going in. But yes, ultimately I do agree. I think it's Pashtarot being the main Ascian behind the scene for the 9th and all of the Dawntrail stuff. Maybe the dude's MIA, maybe he's just biding his time, something, or maybe his plans were ultimately foiled because of Calyx. We don't know. I imagine we will find out at some point though. Let's move on to another popular fan theory going around right now, and that is Meracydia. We have at Prince Brightstar who says, I get that we've all got this stuff coming with the Shans and everything else, but we've been hearing about Meracydia for years, hoping to go there. And yeah, I would like to go to Meracydia as well. The dragon stuff in Final Fantasy XIV is some of my favorite, and they talked a lot about Meracydia in the patches of Endwalker. So to me, right, it just feels inevitable that at some point we're going to go to Meracydia. The only thing I can't wrap my head around is, for this new next big narrative arc, almost certainly it's going to be dealing with Meracydia because of the Endwalker patches and all the stuff they developed there. So either to me, this next new narrative arc that I imagine Dawntrail's laying the groundwork for will properly begin and kick off with either Meracydia, or we go shard hopping and it all culminates in the big finale Endwalker-esque moment will be in Meracydia. So like to me, I think Meracydia is either the beginning or the end, but I just don't see us never going there. It's a massive layup right now. Meracydia, this big talked about place in the lore for so long. Final Fantasy version of Australia. People want to go there. How cool, how spectacular could it be? On top of all the dragon stuff that is almost certainly there, on top of the void stuff as well you could bring into the picture. It just seems like this culminating moment where all these different fan favorite aesthetics of Final Fantasy XIV all coalesce into this one singular location, that being Meracydia. It just sounds and feels like a layup and like an extension of the aesthetic that we had in the Endwalker patches. And while the execution of the story there may have left a bit to be desired for quite a few people, ultimately, I really enjoyed it, and I think overall was really cool, and I think people want to see more of it. Though at the same point, I also really want some colder environments. That'd be nice, so who knows? But yeah, I think Meracydia is down the pipeline at least at some point in time. I don't see us never going there. Now, let's actually talk about the Alliance raid. We have @FlanMe who says, so Prishe will be our 11th companion. This is in reference to a theory that I've been talking about at least, that I think Final Fantasy XIV is gearing us up to have a new traveling companion squad consisting of characters representing each of the shards we go to. Ryan and Gaia for the 1st, Zero and Golbez for the 13th, and I think Sphene for the 9th. It has been a while since I experienced the story of the Alliance raid in Dawntrail, so I kind of forget some specifics. I forget if specifically they mentioned that, like, their version of FF11, because I know it's not 1-for-1 with actual FF11, but if, like, the version we're dealing with in the Alliance raid is just from the 11th, you know, the shard. If that's the case, I wouldn't be particularly surprised if we see Prishe, is what I would say if it wasn't an Alliance raid. I mean, they have done this before when it came to G'rahatia, and they just made the Crystal Tower Alliance raids from A Realm Reborn mandatory. Would they be willing to do something similar for the Dawntrail Alliance raid for FF11 with Prishe? Or could they just kind of do what they did with Gaia and just have it be in the main story, even if you didn't do Eden? I think with the Endwalker patches, like, maybe they could go in that direction. I wouldn't mind, 'cause I think Prishe is a really cool character and could just be a ton of fun to have traveling around. I don't know how realistic or feasible it could actually end up being, but if you told me a new squad would end up consisting of Ryan, Gaia, Golbez, Zero, Sphene, and Prishe, I'd be on board with that. That sounds like a fun group of characters. The biggest issue here is just that Prishe is a, you know, an Alliance raid character, and would they be willing to do something like that? They've done it before, but I don't know, it's interesting to think about. And also, personally, I think it'd be a good way to, like, legitimize the importance of the Alliance raid by bringing a character from there, you know, Prishe, into the main story. Personally, I'm not opposed to that kind of stuff. Actuality, I think the more I think about it, the more I like this idea. Not saying it's realistic or anything, but I like the idea. Now, we have an interesting theory here, courtesy of @Pimsada, who says, I'm willing to bet that Calyx captured an Ascian to learn about their plan by studying their memories. This could be an absolutely fascinating plot twist, and I only have like one little hang-up when it comes to it, because the idea that Calyx could be controlling or have kidnapped an Ascian and is like extracting information from it to learn all these secrets that are supposed to be like safely kept away from regular people. Especially with the role Calyx is in as a villain, that being this cold, calculating scientist type character, that could be an absolutely cool reveal, especially if that information gets out somehow, or is able to utilize that information to his advantage. Also could be an interesting way to take the whole, like, it's an Ascian idea and put it on its head, especially if we, like, follow up the previous idea that maybe this Ascian is Pashtarot. I think that'd be a cool way to work an Ascian into the story, but in a new and interesting way, where they're not necessarily written in as an antagonist, but more so like a tool that is being used by newer characters for the modern story. My only hang-up is I don't know if I would believe that the other Ascians would just let one of their own be kidnapped and have all their secrets laid bare like this. Maybe Calyx found a way to, like, keep it under wraps, but at the same time, do the Ascians just have, like, absolutely no communication? Possibly, but I'm not saying that it even would be a plot hole or anything like that. It would just be, how would they explain this, right? How would they talk about this? How would they showcase how this all came to be? Because I think there's some really cool things you could do by going down this path. Like maybe somehow Calyx scared off the other Ascians, or they were just trying to bide their time somehow. There's a lot of interesting ways this could go down. Now next up, we just have something a bit more lighthearted, as a bit of a palate cleanser from all this brain-scratching, head-racking theory crafting we've been doing in this video. We have @WisdomEal who says, I just want Sphene to be our friend, please. You may go, Jmulls, this doesn't really constitute as a theory, but I found it wholesome. And you know what? It's my video. And if I have to lead a cult of personality for Sphene, a cult of Sphenality, if you will, to make sure she is written to be a permanent character in a future traveling entourage, then I will, because I need more thumbnails. I got a lot from 7.2, and believe me, plenty more to come. At some point, I'm going to run out, and I'm gonna need more. So I do need it to be in the story past just 7.3. I needed to be like one of our main companions going forward. So yes, I think ultimately, I do think Sphene will be our friend. Is it cope on my part? Probably, at least in some part. Do I also think it's likely? Yeah, I've talked about that a lot. I think the direction they're setting her up to be, or at least to go down, is to become our main traveling companion going into the future for this new narrative arc. Make her a summoner/scholar, give her a moo, give me my FF9 fan service, I'm good to go. And with that, I'll call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and help support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Don't forget, leave a comment down below with your wildest, your wackiest, your zaniest fan theories for Final Fantasy XIV and its future, and next time I'll be forced to defend them. So give me your wildest, give me your wackiest, make me pull my brain apart in order to defend them. And stay safe, have a great day, go play some video games, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye everybody, until we meet again!